Hello and welcome to my Week 15 NFL review. A lot of crazy shit this weekend. This was a fantastic week for football. So first off, we have our lovely Thursday night football game. Why can't we just keep all the games on Sunday? Who knows? But this game pretty much went as expected. The Seahawks put up some points kind of near the end, but the 49ers maintain the game. And I believe the 49ers are definitely the best team in the NFL right now. Considering that they're doing this all with Mr. Irrelevant right now, I just think they're so dominant. Their defense is just mass destruction. The Seahawks and Geno Smith could not get anything done until later in the game when the 49ers were just focusing on managing the clock. The Seahawks put up 10 points in that time span, and the 49ers took it home with ease. Nothing much to be said here other than the 49ers are probably the best team in the league. The Colts versus the Vikings. Some may argue the best game of the week, but I have a better one. But this game finishes off in overtime with the Vikings taking it. Oh, close game. Well, if I told you that the Colts were up 33-0 at halftime, you would be a little stunned, wouldn't you? Well, yeah, but again, this is what the Vikings have been doing a lot this year. I mean, let's not forget the Vikings got shut out by the Cowboys 40-3. That game basically was this game, but the Vikings regrouped, and this team is actually just bad. The Cowboys have a good team, and it's just very difficult to turn around and beat that. And also, the Vikings didn't turn on the engine. They just left it off. They said, fuck it, the game's over, leave it off. But this game, they just decided that we're going to stop fucking up. We're going to stop giving them givens, and we're going to just start playing the game. Miracle in Minneapolis? Yes, sir. The Vikings managed to take it into overtime with, I think a touchdown with no time left, and then a 2-point conversion. Yeah, or 2 minutes, 15 seconds left to tie it, and then in overtime, they kick a field goal to win the game because the Colts brought it down the field and gave it away. And basically, a lot of the Colts' points, well, first off, Seven points off a blocked punt return to the end zone. 7 points off of it interception return to the house. That's already 14 of their points. I believe a fumble that leads to a field goal. So we'll say that's 17. And then, I think I don't really know any of the other turnovers. Let's see how many turnovers. Vikings had 3 total turnovers. Defensive/special team touchdowns. Look at that, 2 for the Colts. Colts had overall more time. Total yards. The Vikings had 518. The Colts only had 341. And the Vikings didn't get 3 fourth downs. The Colts didn't get 1. They 0 for 1 for the Colts, 0 for 3 for the Vikings. So overall, the Colts had a lot of givens in this game, and that's why it was such a point deficit. It was so crazy. But the Vikings are a much better team, and honestly, it should have been 39-17 or something. Colts are not a good team, and if they were, then they could have easily beaten this team. It should have been 49 or 45 or somewhere up there. 2-0 going into halftime, but it wasn't, and the Vikings won it. Well-deserved, crazy game, unbelievable comeback. I think it's the biggest comeback in the league now. Ravens versus Browns. I hate these games. I was so bored by this. Lamar Jackson's out, and Tyler Huntley is in. You know what that means. Low-scoring, dog-ass games. This was Tyler Huntley against Deshaun Watson, 2 of some of the worst quarterbacks in the league. There's not many quarterbacks that are worse than them, honestly. And it shows 13-3. Deshaun Watson keeps winning games. It sucks because I would rather see Brissett or whoever was playing for him. I'd rather see him playing than Deshaun Watson, not even because of all the Deshaun Watson stuff, but honestly just because Brissett is a better quarterback than Deshaun Watson. Deshaun Watson hasn't done jack shit. And the Ravens are just dog shit without Lamar Jackson, and that says a lot about their team. Dolphins versus Bills, a great game. Mr. Allen had an outstanding no time left on the clock touchdown to bump the lead up 21-13. But the Dolphins came screaming back, making it an 8-point game at the start of the fourth quarter. And then it got tied up relatively quick. And then all the way down to 0. Josh Allen leads a drive for a field goal. Buffalo wins it. I think, honestly, let's see how many games they've won by 3. They've won so many games by 3. They beat the Lions by 3. They lost in overtime to the Bills. There's so many games that they have just won by last-second field goals. They honestly do it a lot before halftime, too. They always put on 3 right before halftime. This time they scored a touchdown, and they take a dub against a very good Dolphins team. Huge for the Bills. Fantastic for the Bills. And honestly, it was a great game. 29-32. Bills take it home. I honestly, definitely fighting for the worst game of the week. Probably not the worst, but definitely fighting for the worst. I'm going to say it now. I think the Cardinals are the worst team in the league. We started off so much better. Kyler Murray's out, and then McCoy is out. So now we have freaking Trace McSorley. But let's see how we started. We got killed by the Chiefs. Not a great start. But then we had an outstanding comeback and win at Raiders. Lost to the Rams. Terrible loss. Beat the Panthers. And then we lost by 3 points to the Eagles. That was when it was like, okay, there's hope. A terrible game against the Seahawks. But then a pretty high-scoring win against the Saints. Barely lose to the Vikings. Barely lose to the Seahawks. And then it was just, here was the downfall. We just got slaughtered by the 49ers, let the Chargers come back and win, got our butts kicked by the Patriots, and then we got our butts kicked by the Broncos. Cardinals, honestly, I would say this year have been ruined by injuries, but that isn't even the excuse for why we're so bad. We are just a bad team overall, as if the injuries were... The injuries are definitely a part of the reasoning for being so bad, but it's not the main reasoning. The main reasoning is we are just a bad football team. As simple as it is. Christian Kirk had not a good year at the Cardinals. Everybody was like, dude, this guy sucks. Goes over to the Jaguars, and now he's a superstar. That's got to say something about the Cardinals. And the Broncos and the Cardinals are like 2 of the worst teams in the league right now. I'd say the Cardinals are the worst team in the league by far. Eagles versus Bears, a surprisingly fun game to watch. This was very entertaining. And honestly, Justin Fields can make this Bears team a very good team in the future because he is something else. He is crazy. I feel like every single week he's going on some crazy scrambling rush. He might have stepped out at the 9, but it was still a crazy rush, because even though he stepped out at the 9, it's not like everybody stopped. He kept going, got in. It was just ridiculous. Against the number 1 team in the league, too, he's doing that. But the Eagles pretty much pulled away. It was like 25-13 at a point. Justin Fields looked like he was going to run it out of bounds, but they threw a deep ball down the field, wide open person for a touchdown. But then a shitty onside kick gave the ball back to the Eagles. Bears could have stopped them, but Bears defense versus Eagles offense is really never going to go in the Bears' way. A.J. Brown caught a first down, and that ended the game. Very fun game to watch, though, between the best team in the league and one of the lowest and one of the worst teams in terms of rating or in terms of record. And wow, this was a great game. Falcons versus the Saints. This is the game I was debating for the worst game of the week. And I think it is because of how low scoring of a game it was, and because of just how sad it was to see this guy, this Riddler guy. I don't know who he is, but he is his first game starting. He goes up against a terrible Saints team. Yeah, you're at their stadium, but they're not a good team. And you throw 13 for 26, so you have a 50% completion rate, and you throw for under 100 yards at 97. No touchdowns. No interceptions, but no touchdowns. And it's like, it was just sad watching this game. It was just sad because, I mean, they were just dog shit. Passing, I mean, they had 89 yards in passing. Rushing, that was where they took off. They took off in the rushing game with 231 yards. And the Saints beat them by 3. And honestly, it was just such a boring game to watch. Honestly, we're just going to click past it like it never even happened. Insanely blurry, cool image. This was a very interesting game. I thought the Jets would win this. But then of course, Mike White was out, and I figured out Zach Wilson was in, and I was like, it's a Lions blowout. But Zach Wilson showed that he can play quarterback. He can throw the ball to the open receiver, and he can move the ball down the field. He almost got this game tied up, The Jets had god-awful time management at the end. Terrible. I mean, I don't know why you're letting 30 seconds, 20 seconds drip off the clock just to save a timeout. I mean, you didn't even use them anyways. Zach Wilson had a pretty solid drive, keeping it alive, and overall just looking like a much better quarterback from what we have seen. There may have been a pick 6, but he threw the pick like right in their 20s, so if it wasn't a pick 6, it was going to lead to points either way. And it happens, all right? You can't just shit on Zach Wilson because he throws a pick 6 almost every game. But other than that, he played pretty well. He showed some hope. The Lions don't have the best defense, but they're definitely one of the better teams in the league right now. But this almost went to overtime, and if it did, it would have been the first time there were ever 3 overtime games going on at the same time. I think in NFL history. But it didn't. The Lions took the dub. Jets die. They crumbled up and dissolved once the time ran out. And the Lions were brought to heaven and then kicked out to go play some more football. Steelers versus the Panthers. This wasn't even close to a boring game. Yes, it was. This was a terrible game. I don't even think I clicked on this for 1 second. I would just see highlights. It looks like, I mean, the good thing is that Sam Darnold is now playing for the Panthers, and he's doing good. He's doing better. They may not have any more playoff hopes, but Sam Darnold, 14 for 23 with a touchdown pass and 225 yards. That's pretty good. That is not bad at all. But all their yards came from passing. Rushing, they had 21 total yards, and that is just terrible. And yeah, Mitch Trubisky was playing in this game. I think Kenny Pickett is on the concussion protocol or something for like the 50th time in a row. Who knows? But pretty much the fourth quarter was a field goal fest. Just field goals everywhere. And the Steelers own this game. Really, it looked like it was going to be a good game when it saw a touchdown from Sam Darnold, but it was a very slow moving game and pretty boring overall. Just a lot of field goals is just not my type of football. I think I accidentally skipped something. All right, Cowboys versus Jaguars, and this is the game I have elected for game of the week. Final score: 30-40 in overtime. Jaguars take the dub. Eat that, you dog shit Cowboys. Trevor Lawrence shows hope. He actually is a very good quarterback, and he could take this Jaguars team to greater heights in the future as long as he stays healthy. And so this game pretty much was Jacksonville's game. At the end of the second quarter, the score was 21-7. At the start, the Jaguars go down the field, kick a field goal. Then the Cowboys put down 2 more field goals. Then after 5 minutes and 21 seconds, it was Jacksonville's ball game. They scored a touchdown, then they scored another touchdown, then they scored another touchdown and gave them the lead. But then with 3 minutes left and fantastic time management, the Cowboys scored a touchdown to give them the lead. And then all of a sudden, Trevor Lawrence is breaking off a huge run, and the ball goes flying out. And it's like, and that right there was like the game is over. But the Jacksonville defense comes in and stops, and Dallas just decides they're going to throw the ball way down the field and have terrible time management and give the ball back to the Jaguars. Thank God. And the Jaguars go down the field and actually kick a field goal and send this game into overtime. But Jacksonville will not be able to score on the opening drive, so it goes to the Cowboys. The Cowboys are driving, but an insane dropped ball that goes flying into the hands of a heroic Jaguars defender. He returns it to the house in ballsy fashion, and Jacksonville takes the dub home in a fantastic finish. And honestly, I say this was the game of the week because really, if you're thinking about it, it was a high score. It was very interesting. It was a back and forth. It went to overtime versus the Vikings-Colts game. Yes, it might have gone to overtime, but it was really just the first quarter was the Colts and the second quarter was the Vikings, and overtime was the Vikings. Like, overtime was honestly neither because it only went down to 3 points. It was just, honestly, it was just both teams beating up on the other team. The comeback, yes, the comeback is nice and all, but it isn't really fun to watch a team just get absolutely manhandled from a 33-0 lead to tie it. It's impressive. It is definitely notable, but if I had to compare the two, this Jaguars game was definitely a lot more interesting. Chiefs versus the Texans. Talk about another contender for one of the best games of the week. This game went into overtime as well, 30-24 in overtime. And this is, remember, a long time ago in one of my reviews. I don't remember which one, or no, it was one of my predictions. I said the Texans are a much better team than the record says. They have it. They are just not executing, and they're making way too many mistakes, and they're losing a shitload of games. Well, recently, the Texans has started to look like a team that is not what the record says again. They've started to look like that again. And this game definitely showed. The Texans looked very good defensively. And honestly, they could have won this game. But another quarterback sneak, just like the Jaguars game, he tries running it. He doesn't go down. He tries to take a hit. Ball goes flying out. Chiefs get it and take an easy touchdown to end this game. Chiefs deserve it. The Chiefs are definitely a very good team. But the Texans, this would have been a great win for the Texans. Even though their season is long gone and they're regarded as the worst team in the league, this would have definitely helped out their fans a lot. So it definitely helped out their fans a lot and helped out their franchise. But they lost it because of a nice old fumble. Quarterbacks have just got to learn it's not worth it to take a hit. Don't try to be a hero. Just slide and get ready for the next play. Get what you can get and get ready for the next play because that ball flew straight out into the Chiefs. It was stupid. It was a bad way to finish a game. Titans versus the Chargers. Tell me how the Titans are just the most irrelevant garbage team in the league. I mean, this team is so boring. Every single game the Titans play turns the other team into the most boring sack of shit. I will say the Chargers are definitely a pretty boring team, but God, 14-17, that is just so lame. That is so lame. That is 2 touchdowns scored by each team and then a field goal. And yeah, of course, it's a last-second field goal. First quarter saw a touchdown by the Chargers. Second quarter saw a touchdown by Derrick Henry, of course, in the second quarter. Fourth quarter, nothing scored in the third quarter. Fourth quarter saw an Austin Eckler rush. And then right at the end of the game, Ryan Tannehill ran in and tied the game. But Justin Herbert, of course, was able to go down the field and get him in field goal range to kick it because that's all the NFL is nowadays, is going down the field with 13 seconds on the clock and kicking a field goal. It's really all it has been all year. And then let's see the stats. Justin Herbert was 28 for 42. I think that's like 75% completion rate. That could be totally wrong, though. It's 66 complete percentage rate, 66.6 percentage rate. He threw for 313 yards and 2 interceptions. Of course, because the Titans have a semi-decent defense. Ryan Tannehill was 15 for 22. A lot less passes, but a lot more yards, it would seem. He had 165. Now, obviously, that's not a lot more than 313. That's not even close. But in terms of 22 passes, that's pretty good. The game really was a rushing game. Austin Eckler, 12 carries, 58 yards, 1 touchdown. Derrick Henry, 21 carries, 104 yards, and a touchdown. Try to tell me that Derrick Henry is not the Titans, and I will laugh at you and then spit on your face and then spit on your mom. This was a boring as shit game. Bengals versus the Buccaneers. Now, there was a time where I was kind of pissed because the freaking Bucs were up 17-0. But the Bengals, baby. This is why the Bengals are 10-4, shutting down Tom Brady, shutting down Tom Pimple. Yeah, Tom Pimple. Right before the second quarter was about to end, with 0 seconds on the clock, the Bengals kicked a field goal to put some points on. At the start of the third quarter, the Bengals put some more points on. Then they scored a touchdown, but the 2-point conversion was no good. But then they score another touchdown, and this time the 2-point conversion is good. And then they score another touchdown, and then they score another touchdown, going 34 points unanswered by the Buccaneers. And with 49 seconds left, the Buccaneers put down a touchdown and a failed 2-point conversion. And tell me that the Bucs aren't just one of the shittiest teams in the league. I'd say as of right now, the Texans look better than the Buccaneers. Tom Brady's got to retire after this year. There's no coming back after this year. You're donezo. Bye-bye. Giants versus the Commanders. I don't even know why I'm hyping up this game. This game was so boring. 20-12. I wanted the Commanders to win because I believe, I didn't really check very well, but I believed that if the Commanders would have won this game, if the Commanders would have won this game, they would have gone ahead of the Giants at 8-5-1. They could have won. The Commanders could have beat the Dallas Cowboys and then won another game to tie their records, and then take the Cowboys out and potentially kick the Cowboys out of the playoff race. But the Commanders lost. Now, I mean, the Giants could do the same thing, although I think the Giants already took their second loss against the Cowboys, so it is going to be a little difficult. They have 2 losses against the Cowboys, so that's going to be a little difficult. And the Giants have the Vikings, the Colts, and the Eagles. The Vikings and Colts, that's a tough end of the schedule. It looked much better for the Commanders. Yes, the Commanders have the 49ers, but they have the Browns and then the Cowboys, which looked much better. But the freaking Commanders lost. There is no hope. The Cowboys are going to find a way to get into the playoffs. Rams versus Packers. I can't believe this. I mean, first off, our Super Bowl defenders, and second off, our number 1 seed, battling it out in the game of the shitheads. I mean, the Packers, both of these teams, man, it's just like, what has happened? What has happened? Aaron Rodgers, of course, his main target got taken out of the game. Aaron Rodgers had a decent game. Actually, a pretty good game. 22 for 30. 229 yards, touchdown, and interception. Baker Mayfield was 12 for 21, 111 yards, touchdown, interception. So Baker Mayfield didn't even do that bad. It looks like it was pretty good on the ground. But yeah, I mean, these two teams are like near Super Bowl defender and our Super Bowl defender. And this is how the points went. Field goal, touchdown, field goal. Touchdown. The Packers were up 24-6. I mean, really. I'm sorry. Baker Mayfield put a touchdown on at the end of the game, so I won't even count that. Baker Mayfield didn't have a good game. Yeah, I mean, he got hyped up, but also they did that against the Raiders, the team that has literally choked all of their games. So nothing much to be said there. And that is my NFL Week 15 review. It was either a very good week, it was either very interesting, or it was extremely boring. Really, because we had a lot of the shitters paired up with each other. That's what it kind of seemed like to me. A lot of the shitters were paired up together. There wasn't really a good game. I mean, there wasn't really a good game in terms of two teams that have higher records. It was just a bunch of shitters playing each other, like 4-9 Cardinals and the 3-10 Broncos, 5-8 Falcons against the 4-9 Saints, 5-8 Panthers against the 5-8 Steelers. It was Rams 4-9 Rams versus the 6-7 pack or the 5-8 Packers. I mean, it was just a bunch of shitters. It was just a battle. And, I mean, if you're making the schedule right, this would have seemed like a dope-ass week of football. If you were looking at the predictions, this would have looked like a dope-ass week of football. I mean, you have your Super Bowl defender versus your old number 1 seed. You have the Cardinals, who it could have been whatever, versus the Broncos, who are projected to be very good this year. And boy, did they flop. Falcons, Saints, that's whatever. That's a division game. Nothing you can really do about that. And then, I mean, what was the other game? Steelers versus Panthers. No, that game was just bad. But yeah, this game and honestly the Cardinals-Broncos game would have seemed like it. But of course, our best games were the good teams against the shitters. That was it. And that's all I'm going to say. I'm talking now. Let's end this video. Like and subscribe. Comment what your predictions were and what you got right. Comment your favorite game of the week. Do whatever. Just say something. And that's all for me. Adios.